Were you aware of the issues going on with R. Kelly when they were going on?
No. No, didn't have a clue. Completely ignorant to it.
Do you think anyone in the family was?
Yes. Yes, I think my sister knew a lot more than what we thought she knew.
Yes, guys. Aaliyah's Uncle Barry initially said that some family members, like Aaliyah's mom Diane, actually knew what was happening with Aaliyah and R. Kelly and did nothing about it. But now what I'm hearing is that he's got a lot more he has to say about exactly what happened. Chill, I don't know what's going on, but what I can tell you is that something fishy is going on in that family that is making Uncle Barry supposedly throw Diane under the bus. I don't know if it has anything to do with the lawsuit he filed some time back against Diane over her daughter's music legacy, which claimed contractual fraud, with allegations totaling $243,000. From the lawsuit, it seems like Barry has been blocking and not approving certain Aaliyah projects Diane and Rashad have tried to pursue, meaning there's definitely tension there, and maybe this is why he is being forced to spill the tea. Y'all know I'm here for all of it, so let's break it down. Of course, a lot has been said about the circumstances of Aaliyah's death, cause regardless of how we look at it, it always seems like her death was planned, and several people, including Mary J. Blige, called it as it was.
Cool, we put, the style she gave everybody we're drinking. This, I don't even know what to say. I just know that was, that was a spiritual murder, know it or not, because God don't kill people, whether people know it or not, and I could go deep, but a lot of people I would have to really bring proof, for what I learned. And she just was cut down in the prime of her life. And it's so unfair. And it wasn't time. It wasn't, I believe it wasn't her time to go, because from what I know, it ain't supposed to go down like that. And just simple obedience, like, your gut always won you. That's that your gut never lies to you. And something like luggage and clothes and jewelry and all this madness that we worship is called false idols. We need to really look at the bigger picture right now. And look at how honey could be here right now. The lesson.
Honey, if you ask me, the first red flag has always been how Hype suddenly decided to move the filming to the Bahamas, even though they had everything they needed back home. And to this date, no one really knows why Hype changed his mind at the last minute and insisted on doing the video in the Bahamas when Miami had everything they needed. In addition, it was a well-known fact that Aaliyah was terrified of flying, and she always traveled with her mom or brother. And the one time she was forced to fly without her family, she ended up dying. And get this, Aaliyah was also supposed to stay in the Bahamas until August 26th, but they wrapped up the shooting the day earlier, and Aaliyah's team insisted on leaving that same day, but she never got home, cause the plane crashed. To top it all up, Damon Dash also told us that Lenny Kravitz sent Aaliyah and her team a plane to get back from the Bahamas, but Hype Williams took it instead. But why did Lenny send that plane in the first place? Does he also know something we don't? Well, now that the death has come up again, people are wondering whether Aaliyah's mom, who always flew with her, knew what was about to happen, and that's why she never traveled with Aaliyah that one time. And if word on the street is anything to go by, Aaliyah's Uncle Barry has been singing like a bird. Okay guys, I know that Barry himself is also quite questionable, especially since he received $90 million from Aaliyah's death.
Barry, when Aaliyah died for a wrongful death, he got paid $90 million for her death. Am I supposed to say that on TV? For $90 million for her death.
Was that just for his rights or whatever he owned?
What she would have been able to make if she hadn't have died.
Oh, okay. There was a lot of lawsuits.
I guess,
okay.
But that was the settlement. I wasn't in. I was there when we went over to the. He got $90 million. He wouldn't stayed at the L'Hermitage Hotel. We ate good. in deep mourning, right?
And did you know that Aaliyah was about to leave his label once her album dropped? But Barry signed a liability agreement 5 days before her passing, saying that if anything bad were to happen to Aaliyah, that Blackground wouldn't be held responsible? Who knows? Maybe it's possible that he knew something bad was just about to happen to Aaliyah, and that's why he made her sign that ridiculous agreement, and then cashed out big immediately after her death. Also, can I just mention that this man has a history of just being the complete worst person to other artists? Like, there's a woman who said some sometime back that she won a $5.8 million judgment against record producer Barry, claiming he falsely accused her of having AIDS and blew up her car. Then there's also JoJo, who said that when she was signed to the label, she was put with a nutritionist that kept her on a 500-calorie-a-day diet and gave her injections that made sure she had no appetite. So yeah, I know that the man is probably more crooked than most, and I honestly don't know what he has to gain by throwing Aaliyah's mom under the bus. But word on the street is that he is doing exactly that. For starters, like I said, he already said that Aaliyah's mom knew about the controversial relationship with R. Kelly.
Were you aware of the issues going on with R. Kelly when they were going on?
No. No, didn't have a clue. Completely ignorant to it.
Do you think anyone in the family was?
Yes. Yes, I think my sister knew a lot more than what we thought she knew.
With R. Kelly, we already know that he lured Aaliyah into a very controversial and highly inappropriate relationship before forging documents to marry her when she was still not of age, and even reportedly got her pregnant. He actually forged documents and forced the marriage ceremony to ensure that as his wife, Aaliyah would not be forced to testify against him in the court of law. And guess what? There have been reports alleging that both Diddy and Jay-Z knew what was happening.
And he was working with R. Kelly, and they were making so many records together. You know, they made all those records together. They both, they shared so much in common.
Actually, back in 2002, Nas suggested that Jay-Z knew what R. Kelly was doing with young women, and one of them was Aaliyah. He told Wendy Williams during a radio interview when a tape of R. Kelly leaked, "I could have showed the R. Kelly video that everybody's talking about and made fun of it and show pictures of Jay hanging out. You can't tell me Jay didn't see them come into the studio and sit on R. Kelly's lap. You gonna tell me he didn't see them come into the vicinity?" By the way, the 2019 Lifetime documentary Surviving R. Kelly alleged that Aaliyah's parents were in contact with R. Kelly when he married Aaliyah, and they assured him they wouldn't press charges. And as a thank you, R. Kelly reportedly sold the rights to his first 3 albums to Aaliyah's family. Aaliyah's parents quickly also had the marriage annulled in February 1995, and an NDA was signed between Aaliyah and her parents with R. Kelly, vowing that they would never talk about it. And guess what? Aaliyah's mom even claimed that the background dancers and singers who claimed to have witnessed an inappropriate relationship between Aaliyah and R. Kelly were lying, and that they didn't know Aaliyah. I've heard that Barry has been singing about this too. Basically, by confirming that Aaliyah's mom knew about the relationship, Barry basically said that she approved of it. And recently, he's supposedly been releasing even more details, like how Aaliyah's mom allowed her to attend those wild Hollywood parties, including Diddy's parties. Honestly, I don't know whether she stayed for the freak-offs, but we have seen photos of her from the parties, and several others of her hanging out with Diddy. I mean, it's safe to assume that it's at these parties where Aaliyah was introduced to the various men who literally took advantage of her. And by the way, there have also been allegations making rounds suggesting that Aaliyah was one of those who was being transported across borders by Diddy, courtesy of Jay-Z and R. Kelly, and her mom knew about it, allegedly.
So the theory that's making rounds is that since Jay-Z and R. Kelly were already deeply involved with Aaliyah, when she started rebelling, someone else had to be the one to blacklist her or get rid of her. And who better than the third musketeer, Diddy? And he allegedly sold her out with permission from her own mother. FYI. Rihanna was also allegedly among those being transported as well. And this could be more credible, actually, given that her former publicist, Jonathan Hay, specifically said the feds questioned him about this. I mean, it's too much of a coincidence, but it also makes me wonder, who else was being transported across borders? Well, with Barry supposedly bringing all these up, people are now investigating the role Aaliyah's mom played in her death, and whether she was directly involved. We already know a bit of the details of the day, like how the small plane that carried Aaliyah exceeded its maximum weight limit by several hundred pounds, which would have made the plane harder to control once it got into the air. Other than the weight that was already an issue, apparently the pilot had also reportedly faked his license and was under the influence of alcohol and other stuff at the time of the accident. Then we also have someone like Kathy Iandoli, who wrote in her book, Baby Girl, better known as Aaliyah, that someone named Kingsley Russell, whose family ran a taxi and hospitality business in the Abaco Islands, was just 13 years old on August 25, 2001, and he was with Aaliyah as his stepmother drove her team to the airport for her return flight back to the U.S.
U.S. He said that when Aaliyah saw the plane to take her back to the U.S. mainland, she refused to get on board and went back in the cab. Then someone from her entourage returned to ask her what was wrong, and Aaliyah is said to have repeated her concerns about getting on the plane that was overweight, at which point she was handed a sleeping pill and fell into a deep sleep before she was carried on board. Again, why would they need to carry her on board when she was asleep, after she had specifically said she did not want to board that plane? And most importantly, did her mother really know what was going on? Chile, based on what I've heard, Barry is really out here making it look like Diane was part of the plot to unalive Aaliyah. I know it's crazy that they have been fighting for years over Aaliyah's legacy, yet they are possibly both guilty. And knowing Barry, he's probably sacrificing his sister because he's also afraid that things may come up about him, and he needs the focus to be on Diane. But the way things are unfolding, we may soon find out the real truth about Aaliyah's death and everyone who was involved. I'll definitely have my ears on the ground. But meanwhile, let me know what you think of Barry throwing Diane under the bus in the comments section below.